This podcast is sponsored by BetterHelp. After experiencing trauma, I went to therapy, and my therapist guided me through a difficult time in my life. They helped me understand what was happening and provided me with tools to cope and find my own strength and resilience. Their experience and compassion were invaluable and enabled me to rebuild my life and move forward. I strongly believe in the power of therapy to help people through difficult times. BetterHelp connects you with a licensed therapist who is trained to listen and give you helpful, unbiased advice. First, you go to their site. You can use my link, betterhelp.com/resilience. You answer a few questions, and BetterHelp will match you to a professional who has years of experience helping people with struggles just like yours. Let BetterHelp connect you to a therapist who can support you, all from the comfort of your own home. Visit betterhelp.com/resilience or choose podcast, then notes on resilience during sign up and enjoy a special discount on your first month.
This stuff is table stakes now. You should be listening to people, and your customers have always been diverse. Your attitude might not have been. So in a lot of ways, I think you actually go talk to all kinds of people with different life experiences, body shapes and sizes, part of the human spectrum there is, that you think you can connect to, or you want to be connected to, and listen to them.
Hello, and welcome to Notes on Resilience. Today we have another episode in our series on technology and well-being, and my guest is Chris Lucas, the co-founder and CEO of Ompractice. He's also been a public health policy staffer and a certified yoga teacher. We had a wonderful conversation about mindful technology and integrating mindfulness in the digital world. What do we need to be thinking about? What is that digital technology replacing, and why? I think you're really going to enjoy this conversation. Chris, I am so excited to have you today. I'm really excited to talk to you. Before we dive in, question I start for everybody. If you could have dinner with any historical figure, who would it be and why?
The answer to this one came out immediately in my head. He's a not very particularly well-known actor, but if you went back and saw like the VCR Clue game, the man on the cover plays the role of the butler. He was also my grandfather, and he passed away when I was really little, but he had this amazing career in film, commercials, all this stuff, and I would give anything to learn more about like that aspect of his life, because I'm constantly told how much I am, like how similar we are and all of that. And like, so I then tried to search for something, you could say Da Vinci, you could say John Lennon. There's all these wonderful, wonderful people, but I have to go with what's true. And I would give just about anything to have dinner with them. Sorry, I got a little misty up here just thinking about that.
Absolutely. I think that's so special. I mean, that he's got this public reputation, but he means so much to you. And if I could make it happen, Chris, I would wave my magic wand.
Yeah, me too. It's cool. He used to be a door-to-door salesman. There's just so much. Yeah, it's really neat. I have so many questions, but it's there's a lot I do get to know. But I would love that.
Yeah. Well, and knowing the facts and the details isn't the same as getting to spend time with the person.
Exactly.
Absolutely. All right. Well, thank you for sharing that. And we are talking today about technology and well-being and integrating mindfulness into our digital lives. So we live in a time where technology is really becoming, for a lot of us, intertwined with our well-being. How can we make sure that technology complements human interaction and connection and doesn't replace it?
As if it just perfect timing. You can hear like my notifications dinging and all that. So, it even when you're trying to just do one thing, it still finds a way of elbowing in. Yeah, I don't know if that was good timing or not. I think part of the answer comes from, are you trying to bring people together in some kind of meaningful way, or are you trying to sort of separate them from the experience of their daily life and the people and things that are most important to them. I know when we started our company, that was a big thing in terms of, obviously, so we offer, a bunch of yoga practices, a lot of online virtual stuff. So you're seeing kind of supported in real time. But one of our biggest fears was, wait, are we really just removing people from a communal experience? That is really, really powerful part of it. And at the end of the day, we kind of landed on the side of like, it doesn't have to replace anything. It can be kind of additive in that way. But I really do think that you have to come from a place of how technology complementing an experience versus sort of supplanting it or replacing it. And to me, like, I think it's pretty clear when it's happening and when it's not. The world is not meant to be digitized. And I think there's been some big swings and misses where people thought, hey, we're going to really bring people together. And it just, maybe it did for a moment, but people are going to be people. And I think I remember Facebook being fun one time, and I like reconnected with old high school friends, and I was like, wow, this is really great. I mean, now I won't touch it, so it really is, it's sad in some ways like that. Even like good intentions can be undone.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I do believe that. I think, is your intention to bring people together? And not only is that your intention, but is it actually happening?
Right. I like thinking about it that way because right now it seems like a lot of the different technologies just feel like distractions or interruptions to trying to live a life.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think our brains were meant for this level of constant input. There's just so much inbound. We like physically weren't developed to receive, process, deal with, and act on all of this incoming information. And then also sorting it, what's important, what's not. I mean, everybody's vying for, micro moments of your life now.
Right. And then you think about not only the sheer amount of information, but that we're watching something on our laptop or our TV, and we're looking at our phone, and we're checking social media, and I just don't know. I don't know how we are surviving in this moment, given the number of technological distractions.
Yeah, we're not doing ourselves a lot of favors. And I mean, it used to be, I think the Twitter is the second screen, and so companies are investing. Now it's, your social is like their first screen, and then the game is happening, but you're watching the updates on platform of your choice here. The convenience and immediacy is hard to deny, and so it really sets up some difficult questions people need to be self-aware enough to ask, regarding your own habits, boundaries, values. I mean, there's definitely times where I'm trying to catch up on what happened in the day, and my daughter's asking me to read to her, and I'm thinking, oh, well, all right, which one am I going to do? It's like, there's an obvious choice here, Chris. But at the same time, my brain is like, yeah, but I want to catch up on this dopamine thing that, or I want to find out about some score or, event or whatever. Like, I'm trying to process all the stuff that's coming. I'm still filtering it out. And I have something way more important, obvious, and connected, like literally talking to me. It's still like, do I do that? Yeah.
I have been following a particular news story and a particular event, and it is not at this moment rapidly evolving. And yet I keep being pulled in to check, has something changed? And for at least 24 hours, nothing significant has changed. But I keep, what might be happening now? And I know it's happening in the moment, and I don't want to be pulled in.
Wow. Yeah. That's a good insight there, where it's not just the constant inbound that's coming that we haven't asked for. It's also sort of the way we've conditioned ourselves, even in the last, 10 years, to ask for it almost, or to go for, status updates, right? Just like you were saying, it's just check, because you can. Hitting refresh, just waiting for that satisfaction of learning, okay, yeah, there's an update, and now I get to see what it is, or being first, or whatever it is.
Yes. A friend and I were just having this conversation about the concept of gambling, which is nothing happens. Oh my gosh, something great happened. And then nothing interesting, good, winning, losing happens. But we somehow, like, we keep going for that dopamine hit, right? That's what we're kind of searching for.
Yeah, because we've kind of taken it out of the rest of it. I mean, that's sort of like, again, what I was saying about replacing, right? We found these things to replace that feeling of, yeah, you made a new friend, or you had a great run, or whatever. You can get these kind of similar feelings faster, easier, more regularly. And it just might turn out that empty your bank account doing it. But yeah, because my experience in gambling is not, hey, we had a big win.
Yeah, no.
I've been swayed away from that kind of thing once or twice. So I'm good on there. But it's the idea that, yeah, you have this constantly available chance to experience something. I don't know if the word intense is right, but yeah, but there's a level of intensity and you can anticipation,
Yes. Yes.
and then that's rewarded, and you can just do that over and over and over and over again.
Yeah. It's rewarded just enough to keep you going. Like I am not a gambler. I did the slots one time in Vegas. I won $75 and it's like, done, walking out right now.
Yeah.
Cause I could see how one would want to continue given that kind of reinforcement. Not that we need to go down the rabbit hole of gambling, but so as someone who runs an organization that thinks about mindfulness and there's a digital component to that, what is the responsibility of an organization who creates a digital product to us as individuals?
That's a great question. And I know I've said this to my team, our investors, our partners, our customers, is that when we started this, and it was very early, it was well before the pandemic, and I knew there's plenty of data showing people wanted more access to movement or stillness practices that have an evidence base, right? Yoga, Tai Chi, meditation, not just sort of the latest fad, but no, there is clear evidence that this works for almost any human being. How do we make it more accessible? I said very early, like, I feel obligated to be a good steward of this thing because it is precious. We are early into it. This could be defined by people who might have their profit and their P&L sheet is more of their guideline than are we doing something important and meaningful for people who need it. So because we were early, I feel like we got to define some of the rules. So it's not even just what is it as a digital platform, but even as one of the first ones in this sort of, hey, we live in a virtual world now. What do we owe to people, right? Again, so what are we replacing? What are we trying to be complementary to? And how do we connect people? Those were the earliest, biggest questions that I think the answers evolve as people evolve and behaviors change. I do think one of the things that we are responsible for is recognizing what are we building? Who are we building it for? Why are we building it for them? And who are we enrolling in the building process? One of the things that we do at Ompractice constantly, every month we have a meeting with all of the instructors and we show them, hey, here's all of the updates within the business. Here's some things that are coming up. Here's new customer. Like, there is a level of transparency I think that's required that is not normal yet. And I think the part of the obligation is to build not just for your customers, but build with them. And initially, the instructor community, the teacher community was more of who we thought our customer was. They might not have been the end user, but that's who we thought we were going to serve best. That turned out to be wrong. But so we built a lot of our platform and business around how do we make sure that being an excellent instructor is livable, so that we're not constantly losing the best, most qualified people because they can't make any money and they're going to have to go off and do something else. So part of what we were trying to do is say, oh, we want to preserve this magic that we are losing slowly just because it's not a 6-figure experience for most people. So how do we do that in a way that is responsible and gets people the kind of outcomes that they deserve? So I think part of what we always need to be asking ourselves again is, okay, we know why we started, we know what we did, and we know why we made the choices we made. What are those next choices where we know we're responsible for both experience, for expectation, and how do we serve the people that are currently, sort of within our sphere? And then how do we also bring in more who we think this will work for? And that both goes for instructors, students, partners, because I think there's a tendency to be like, oh, well, we've got this little slice of humanity and we're that's all, we're going to just really squeeze every cent out of those folks. And to me, that seems misguided. And I think there is a way to build and add and develop, but only by bringing in new voices, new experiences, new, it's the word I want, just sort of like fresh takes on uh, what's possible. Does that make sense?
That does make sense. And it's so interesting to hear you talking about this because I'm thinking about you've built a company and you have to make money to support the business and for all the reasons that a company needs to make money. And yet I don't believe that everybody who runs some of these big organizations that we're talking about, not to name any names, has that same kind of approach. I think some of these digital products that we are all somehow connected to, or many of us, are fully profit motive and not as much or at all human experience or how can we be compassionate. It's just, what do we do to make money? So I appreciate your approach that is recognizing you can have both.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we made a very conscious choice that economic barriers exist for the kinds of people we know movement or mindfulness work for. So instead of having what we do be, the Lululemon demographic, and I think that's wrong. So what we did was we said, what if 99% of the people who used it didn't have to pay a cent for it? What if we went to people who say they care about population health, i.e., insurers, health systems, private practices, library, like municipalities, insurers? What if those people were given the chance to take care of their communities and populations the way they say they want to? We found that makes good money. We are profitable. But we're also not trying to make every available cent we possibly can. And our team's on board with that. Our early investors were on with that, and our partners know that we're not just trying to say, well, what's your budget and how much of it can we get? It really is.
Right.
Yeah, it really is. Really, are we a return on investment for you, for what you're paying? Are you getting what you want population health wise? What are the objectives you care about? And how are we measuring, hey, this is working, or this needs some help, or this is not a fit, we should all stop what we're doing. uh,
Right.
that's okay. But yeah, I think you're right. Sort of the leaders of sort of the social world, there was a time where the hedge funds and stuff were going to Ivy Leagues, right? And so all of the smartest minds weren't going teaching in public schools or anything like that. They're all going to hedge funds, making a crazy amount of money. And in the last 10, 15 years, the big recruiters are the big five social platforms, or I think like they're getting the next generation of great minds, and they're all just figuring out how to get more of your attention and money at the same time.
Yes. You mentioned thinking about what does the user want and helping incorporate that into the design. How can organizations make sure that, digital health initiative or a program like software and app is inclusive and is listening to a diverse set of users?
Some of it's just, you just have to actually do that and not say you do it. And you have to be able to be visible in doing it in a way that is not looking for congratulations for doing what frankly should be obvious. We're not looking for flowers because, look, see this inclusive thing we did? Come praise us. I have a hard time when I see that kind of thing come by on LinkedIn or something like that. And I just want to, like, this stuff is table stakes now. You should be listening to people, and your customers have always been diverse. Your attitude might not have been. So in a lot of ways, I think it's, you actually go talk to all kinds of people with different life experiences, body shapes and sizes, whatever part of the human spectrum there is that you think you can connect to or you want to be connected to, and listen to them. And then when they tell you something, you do it. So, I mean, some of it is just, it's so obvious. People get themselves into a mental pretzel trying to figure it out. And it's, no, it feels risky, But I'll tell you, when people can see their fingerprints on something that you put out into the world, you have an evangelist for life. Like it's just it's so simple. But it can be scary for someone who maybe runs a business that feels like, oh, well, I'm ceding some kind of control. And that's not our viewpoint. See that hesitation, but it is worth pushing through.
Yes. I think there absolutely is that fear of losing control. I'm involved in a project, a lot of really thoughtful people. We came up with some language, a lot of thoughtful people with very diverse experiences. We came up with some language and we approached one of the groups that is going to be part of the project. And they instantly found a phrase that we used that was just awful in light of who they are as a group, that we have now expunged from the language and we've removed it. But it was a real lesson in how important it is to have stakeholders and people with diverse experience and the experience of the people you are trying to reach, because we thought we did a pretty good job, but we did something pretty wrong.
And that is sort of an adult way of dealing with all of it, right? Someone was extremely generous, giving you, hey, this is not okay, right? Because they could have been, well, I just don't want to make waves. Man, this really drives me crazy. Go along to get along. So that's amazing that you've got somebody in your circle who's going to tell you how it is. But also the humility to say, yeah, we didn't do this right. All right, let's fix it and still keep going forward rather than internalizing it. What does this mean about me or us, or now everything's right? So I think that to me is how things should work. Right?
Yes.
People are being honest with you, and then you have some humility, some self-awareness, and maybe there are cases where you get feedback and it's like, yeah, this actually doesn't fit. Here's why we did it. But at least there's an honest accounting of, okay, no, this doesn't work. We should really get rid of this, and it's pretty obvious why. Cool, let's go.
This is also what I wish I had a magic wand for. Just, let's just fix it. Everybody be inclusive. Think about other experiences beyond your own. So, Chris, we're getting close to the end of our time. I'm just curious, is there anything I didn't ask you that you wish I'd asked you?
I think the only thing that is worth mentioning is everything that we think of as, on just sort of the way technology and being present, how that's all happening now is just going to be so different even in 5 years from now. And so I think the whiplash that's coming is going to be wild. I think we're getting even more opportunities to replace meaningful connection. And this is not me whining about it. I think it's just happening, right? You can go to ChatGPT or Claude or any Midjourney or the places to be creative are now being sort of outsourced, which is kind of a bummer. And so I would encourage anybody to ask themselves right before they use something or bring on a new thing, sign up for new things, like, what are they trying to get me to do or sell to me? Or we have taught our 7-year-old that on the rare instances where she sees like a commercial, all right, sweetie, like, what are they trying to sell you? And she understands it. So sometimes she's like, oh, I thought it was a car, but it was really something else. Or, I thought, but she understands, no, this is, they're trying to sell you something. And that's okay. They're allowed to. But the question is, you don't have to be sold. And so before the temptation comes, like, well, everybody's joining this or everybody's joining that, I'm going to get in. This is where all the inputs are coming. We gave it. We said, all right, yeah, bring it on. What is trying to be replaced? And is it wonderfully additive to your life? Is it wonderfully subtractive to your life? Does it free you up truly? Or are you adding another layer to an onion that's already making you cry? Because there's definitely amazing interactive communities that create, both in relationships and like music and art and literature, all sorts of ways of coming together that were never before possible. And it's all going to speed up. And, we're raising a generation not knowing what we're raising them into. Like I'm among one of those first generations that, I didn't have a cell phone until I was in college, but I did have email, and, we were early adopters in that kind of stuff, but we don't have a clue what's coming for the next generation. And we probably are like, the worst people to try and guide guide the next generation through, because we've just, I mean, other than we've made all the mistakes. Let's please not keep repeating them. But I think there is a chance for something wonderful to happen, where barriers are broken and continue to be broken, and we just have to ask ourselves, similar like your group, like what are you all seeing, and is this what we really want to do? If the answer is yes, that's okay.
As you're thinking about where we are now and where we're going, which is unknowable to a degree, what is giving you hope?
I think what gives me the most hope is I do see connection happening, right? So I am very lucky in that what we've made is a place where people talk before class, after class. What I love is that it looks like a wedding reception in every class. Like, these people would never come together in any circumstance other than this class. So you have all kinds having a positive shared experience. That is still possible. I see it 50 times a day. I have goosebumps right now. Like, it is real. It is possible. It's happening. So that always gives me hope. So this is not something like, oh, maybe someday that'll be possible. So I do know it can and is happening. So that does give me hope.
Okay.
I'm not trying to be, I'm the source of my own hope, but I also feel like, hey, that's not a bad way to live.
It's not a bad way to live. And you're getting us back to that original question of, is the technology adding to your life, or is it taking something away? Is it taking away that personal connection?
Sure.
And you're talking about making sure that what's giving you hope is that people are making those personal connections.
And they're still looking for it, and they're still willing to use technology to do it.
Yeah. Chris, thank you so much. This has been such a fabulous conversation.
What a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Oh, thank you. All right. Thanks everyone for listening.
Thank you for listening. I hope you got as much out of this conversation as I did. So if you'd like to learn more about me, Manya Chilinsky, I work with organizations to help understand how to create environments where people can thrive after difficult life experiences. And I do this through talks and consulting. I'm a survivor of mass violence, and I use my experience to help leaders learn about resiliency, compassion, and trauma-sensitive leadership, to build strategies to enable teams to thrive and be engaged amidst difficulty and turmoil. If this is something you want to learn more about, visit my website, www.manyachilinsky.com, or email me at manya@manyachilinsky, or stop by my social media on LinkedIn and Twitter. Thanks so much.